to everyone today. And today we're going to have a very different type of presentation. I want to have more of a communication presentation with you everywhere, wherever you are in the world. So we're going to be more proactive and coactive if you feel like playing around with me today as well. We're going to be learning new tools. We're going to be practicing new tools. And I would love to hear more from you than hear me talk more. So what we're going to do today to begin before we start the presentation is just to kind of like, let me know you're there. Just throw me like a thumbs up or hello. I can see some of you are already participating in the chat. I'm going to be also reading a little bit of what you are writing up in there. So first of all, hold on one second because we got to go to the beginning of the presentation so that I can start sharing with you what we're bringing in today. Today, we're going to talk about how to reinvent your leadership in these changing times that we have been experiencing over the past, year and a half, almost 2 years going. And reinventing is more, the word that I use for it is resignifying. So usually I invite you to look at your leadership from the inside out. And Elias, can you help me move it to the beginning of the presentation? Because this is more towards the end, so that we can start sharing from the very beginning. And so what I was saying is, if you can just sum me up and let me know that you're there and that you are following me, this is how we're going to do, going in the chat. So today we're going to talk about reinventing your leadership styles for real life success. We're going to talk about conversational intelligence, and we're also going to talk about resignifying your greatness. And I work for 2 different companies right now, basically DynamicGrowth Consulting, which is half of what Elias shared about what I do, and then Global U Academy, where I facilitate, and I am the academic director for the program to certify coaches and global leaders. So what does success mean to you? If you want to just chat it out, what is the meaning of success for you?
Let's see if people join us on the chat and share with us what do you think it is. It would be great. So we're going to be reading all of it.
You can use one word, a short phrase, and while you continue to write in the chat, we're going to move along to the next slide so I can begin sharing more information with you. Today, the idea is for you to get to know me, but more for you to get to know yourself. Because in order to reinvent your leadership, especially in these changing times, we have to access different areas of ourselves so we can then understand and help access different areas of the people that we work with, the people that we live in, and the people that we are actually leading on to the next level of their greatness or their life in business or in their personal life. So resignifying your greatness and reinventing your leadership goes from the inside out. This is the trick that most people don't understand. And we try to actually push everything from the outside in. And after this pandemic year and a half that we've been locked up inside, we have been able to actually understand that we have to look inside and feel what's going on. What's the impact that our words and our reactions are having to others, in order to really understand how can we affect change and how can we reinvent a new way to work, to be, to share, and to lead in the world. So do we have anything coming up in the chat?
Yes, we do actually. So if I'm scrolling up, so Jolie says, being successful is to have everything that people are always craving for. Elias said success is to be happy. Al also said happiness. Joy Grace said success is uplifting people. Joy Grace, yeah, she said uplifting people. Karen said feel happy with what I do. Vera said success is being able to be useful to people around and live happily. Joel said fulfillment. Ingrid said the good or bad outcome of an undertaking, achieving the goals that matter to you the most. Nancy said to do what you love to do. Tranti said become what you want and what you dream. Lore said victory, and that's it for now.
Wow, great. Thank you
Great
everyone
answers.
for
Thank you.
talking to us through the chat.
Yes.
So we go to the next slide. Yes, so as we can see, the common ground here is basically to feel your best self, to achieve your goals, to move forward, to feel victorious, or that you really get to where you want to go. This is basically what we do with coaching, is to help you understand and get clarity to where you want to go and navigate with you as we partner in a coaching relationship to actually move from where you are to where you want to go, so you can achieve successfully your dreams or your goals at the end of the day. So today we're going to focus on the Resignifying Your Greatness model, which I will explain later. But also I want to invite you to actually go inside and then share with us outside whatever happens, not only in your brain as I'm talking and you're thinking and you're getting these emotional reactions through the words that I will be sharing today, but also I want to invite you to feel your body. The Resignifying Your Greatness model is a model that I've created over the last few years of coaching around the globe, and putting together the different places and the different areas that I noticed that were separated from each other in order to understand how to achieve greatness and success. So I put them all together in a model, and I'm going to share some of it with you, because we only have a couple of hours with me. It will be like more of a training than actually a conversation. So today I'm going to just choose one of my secret sauce ingredients from the Resignifying Your Greatness model. And we're going to begin with the slide before this one, because I want to ask you a question before I move forward. And the question begins to the question we've all tried to answer around the world and every day of our life is, who am I? And when we try to answer this question, who am I? I'm sure lots of answers come to place. And what I want you to start doing right now is to feel in your body what happens when I ask you the question, who am I? Which in this case would be, who are you? Who are you? And start listening to your brain and to your heart and to your body. What are the answers that come, and what are the emotions that come out when I ask you, who are you? And then I'll share a little bit. I'm not going to share a lot more about who I am, because Elias already did a great job about that. But I want to share a new word with you that showed up in there, and that's CVO. And I'm curious to know if anyone has ever heard the word CVO before, because this is a new concept. We're going to start introducing new concepts today. CVO. If anyone has heard this before, just thumb us up in the chat or let us know what you think it means. No, never? Okay, CVO, it's a new concept that I heard from Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've ever heard of Simon Sinek. He's what I call a resignifier of greatness as well. So he's part of my tribe in the sense that he's a great leader in his organization, and now he's inspiring and he's being authentic and just talking forward. And yes, Jolie Fan, thank you, Chief Visionary Officer. I don't know if there are other people who know this. So I am super excited that the concept is getting out there, because this Chief Visionary Officer, it's a new word being introduced really out in the business. And it's about who gets the vision, who gets to create the vision and move the vision forward. And to me, that's a resignifier. That's a conscious leader. And this is the first word that we're going to use or learn to reinvent your leadership style. A lot of times when creativity comes in, we don't know how to measure it. And I love that this concept is coming out. So I am CEO and CVO. So going back to the question, who are you? I want to know what happens when I ask you the question, who are you? But most importantly, when I ask you the question, who do you want to be? What shows up for you emotionally and mentally, but mostly emotionally in your body? What shows up for you when I ask you, who do you want to be? Who you are today is the accumulation of all the studies and all the experiences and all the decisions that you've made. But who do you want to be it's more like we want to hear that. When I read you up, when I ask you this question, how does it feel inside of here? Who do you want to be? What comes up for you?
Again, we're going to be checking the chat if you want to keep sharing with us and answering this beautiful question. Sometimes it makes you think a lot about yourself, right, Angela?
Yes, and you can also jot down, if you don't want to write on the chat, jot down in a piece of paper around you, what are the emotions that come up after you think about who you are, all the achievements, everything that you've done so far, all the decisions that you made, but mostly what shows up for you with this open question of who do you want to be or who do you want to become? If it's an emotion, if it's more of a feeling, if it's an idea, a picture, an image in your head, it'll depend on how you perceive life. It'll show up in different ways. You can share in the chat or just basically keep it to yourself, because the idea today is really for you to play as much as you want, to listen as much as you want. You're not forced to do anything. It's just to sit here, just have fun, play with us if you feel like, and basically learn whatever you want to learn and take away with you today. So we can move forward, Rodrigo, while they start chatting in who do they want to be. We can
there we go. Yes.
Move a couple of slides, I believe. There we go. All right, we're getting some answers here.
Yes, we are actually. So Joel said a dynamic leader. Al said a good mentor. That's a good one. Jolie said, I want to pursue the career in education. It took me 4 painful years to realize what I want to be. Naresh said, I am a person who wants happiness in this world, and I want to be the one who can contribute to it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We're going to go back to all of these things that all of you have shared, and thank you so much for participating. So I'm giving you my secret sauce today of the Resignifying Your Greatness model that it's coming out to the world. So you are like almost my third presentation globally on this subject. So you basically are the pioneers coming in with us at UTEL and at DynamicGrowth on understanding the Resignifying Your Greatness model. Like I was saying before, the Resignifying Your Greatness model that I've been studying and researching and putting it out there with my clients, it focuses on 4 different areas that we tend to forget. So Rod, the Resignifying Your Greatness model is coming up after this slide so they can start reading with me. And the idea is to raise your vibrational level to the next greatness for you, but also to understand that when we are resignifying your greatness, there are 4 different areas that we look at. And one is understanding that we are emotional beings, and that after we receive an emotion, we tend to move forward or not with it. And this is what we're going to be talking about today. Also, the way we are speaking to each other and the way we're speaking to ourselves are detrimental or helpful into the conscious actions to help us move forward and to achieve success at the end of the day. So by understanding how language actually triggers the different parts of our brain and it stimulates our habits and behaviors, as leaders, you can resignify your leadership style through conversational intelligence, which is only one little part of that Resignifying Your Greatness model, and we're going to continue seeing it moving forward. So I'm going to share a little part of my secret sauce today with you so you can take it and use it in your everyday life and your business. And this way, through conversations and Resignifying Your Greatness, you can build healthier and more resilient organizations in the face of change that we live in today. So we are going to move forward with the presentation, Rodrigo, and I want to share with you that today's agenda, basically, so that you know what are going to be the main takeaways very quickly. I think you probably received this information already, but this is what we do in a coaching session. We get the first part of the coaching session is to get into an agreement of what's going to happen in the session during the day. And even though we're not going to be doing coaching today, in general, we're going to treat this event as if it was a coaching session from the beginning to end. I'm going to share briefly some of the core competencies. And one is to reach an agreement with your client. So today's agenda is an invitation for you to explore what happens in your emotional world, what happens with your intuition inside of yourself, what happens with the conversations in your brain that come out, the conversations with you and the conversations with others. Basically, the life-changing power of words and how they can influence you in your biology and in your physiology, and the impact that this can have with the people you come in contact with in the organizations. Also, how coaching and or signifying your greatness model can help you move forward with this and reinvent yourself as you continue to grow as leaders and business owners. And what happens here is that every time we hear a word, there are these interactions happening inside of our brain. I don't want to get into very deep neuroscience because we will get into it later, but there's like this spark connecting our brain inside, and it's going to send a feeling out. And this feeling, it's what's going to actually help us move forward, make a decision of freeze, run away, or appease. That means that your brain is being activated by the words, and the words are going to determine how your actions are going to come forward or not. And I love to share these images for you to have an idea of what actually happens when we connect what we're feeling with our intuitive world or our spiritual world. I don't want to get into spirituality or religion right now, but there's an inner part of us that has a knowing that comes out, and it's triggered by people saying words around the corner of our offices, in our household. So as leaders, to remember that every time we put a word or a phrase out there in the world, we're actually affecting the person next to us, whether they're our children, whether they're our peers, whether as leaders is our team or the organization that we serve or that we lead in. And as we move forward, we continue to understand a little bit of the neuroscience that happens inside of us when words connect. And this is the time where we get to play a little bit to kind of put together all this information that I've been sharing with you right now. And we're going to start to understand it inside of our body. I want to make sure that I'm not speaking too fast. Rodrigo, I want to ask everyone if the pace is good. All of you who are listening to me, are you understanding clearly, or do I need to slow down a bit?
Let us know if everything's all right, if you're going along with Angela, maybe with some thumbs up, so we know that we're doing great and you're taking advantage of this space and you're understanding everything. So I see a few thumbs up. Notice it kind of fast, so maybe we slow a little bit down the pace, maybe.
Okie dokie, perfect. Yes, I noticed that, so that's why I'm asking the question, so I don't go too fast. I just want everyone to experience and understand as we continue to move forward. So at this point, before we go into the exercise, I want to ask if there are any questions from what I've shared, or if you want me to repeat something from what I've shared so far before we move into the exercise.
All right, let's see if anyone has a question about what we have seen so far. They're asking for your social media, so Vanessa is going to help us there to share the different links, so where they can find you. And I don't see any question yet, so I think we can keep going.
Okay, excellent. So the invitation right now is to close your eyes, okay? I want you to experience in your body, and then feel free to share, in the chat if anyone is brave enough to show up maybe and talk, but mostly if you want to talk in the chat, to see what's going to happen in your body. What are the experiences, the thoughts, the memories that will come through to you while I read these words, okay? So in order to do this deeply, I want you to close your eyes and basically take a deep breath in your chair. Just sit comfortably or lay down wherever you're at. Take a deep breath to basically feel it in the here and the now, to invite yourself to be present. And we take another deep breath in. Feel your lungs and out. And we're going to do this one more time. Deep breath in. And you can just breathe out and make a noise if you need to, and keep your eyes closed while I read these words to you, and you just experience whatever comes up, okay? So I will let you know when I need you. I will share it with you when the time is right. Just do as you're told. I will find out who's responsible for this mess. I'll handle it myself. You don't need to know. You can't really help. What do you know about this anyway? You don't have the experience to know how. I'll share it with you when it's the right time. Just do as you're told. You can't really help. You don't have enough experience. So I want to hear what shows up for you listening to these words. If you want to share in the chat.
They're already answering. Nancy said, negative sensation of my person. Feel useless, says Al. Feel insulted, said Joel. Leah said frustrated. It made me feel unappreciated, personally. Joey said, I feel offended. The words are demeaning, says Joey saying. Naresh is saying no respect. Vera says lost direction.
Yeah, so basically, I know I was speaking very fast in the beginning, but basically what I was saying in a nutshell or in a conclusive word is that the words that we use, the tones that we use, but mostly the words have a special way of affecting us every day of our lives. So creating this Resignifying Your Greatness model and the invitation today to reinvent the way you show up as leaders, because we are all leaders in the world. We just choose or not choose to really embrace that and move forward with that energy, to remember that each word that we say to each other, it's actually going to generate an emotional impact. And that emotional impact is going to trigger our brain automatically based on each person's personal experience and belief system that could actually close you up, make you feel diminished, feel insulted, not want to move forward with doing anything for this person or this team once you're triggered by these words. So basically today with this exercise, and we're going to do another one, to feel, in your body for two reasons. One, we feel to understand and to become more aware of ourselves with the words that trigger us, the words that trigger our emotions. And once our emotions are triggered, what happens after that? So we become more self-aware and self-conscious of what can change our way of being and our way of responding. But number two, to become responsible. And this is the reinventing and resignifying your greatness. When you become responsible, then you take charge and you take responsibility of what kind of words are you wanting to use moving forward. Now knowing today, now you're not unaware anymore and unconscious anymore. Today you're becoming aware and conscious, not only in your brain, but also in your body. So this is the invitation to continue moving forward with the presentation today, to feel how does it make you feel, and what kind of responsibility you want to take after all the learning today. Okay, so I see a bunch of cameras turning on. This is great. You're also welcome at any point in time to open your cameras. I'd love to see all of your faces around the world. And thank you for answering the questions. And we're going to move forward to the next exercise. And right now, just kind of disconnect from this one. I want you to breathe in and out. Maybe you move your arms if you need to, or shake your head, kind of to shake off a little bit of whatever we were feeling from listening to these words and understanding some of the reactions that they cause. I don't know if maybe someone wanted to talk or say something, but okay. So let's go to the next slide. And now we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to invite you again to close your eyes and take a deep breath 3 times again, very deep. You can make noise if you want to, or just simply take a deep breath in and out. To be present, to be here. You're safe in the here and the now. Keep your eyes closed and just notice what happens to you as I share these words or these phrases. Whom can we ask for help on this? How do you feel about what's going on? Why don't you decide? Let's do a debrief on what's working and what we need to put more energy into. How would you like to handle this? What would you like to know more about? What resources do you need to get the job done? What are your instincts telling you about how to handle this? Where would you like to be a year from now? You can open your eyes if you're ready. And I see already things coming into the chat. Super exciting.
Yes, Joel is saying, I feel empowered. Nancy saying, I feel like I need to take action. Who else? I feel pressured, said Charlene. Who else? I feel valued, said Al. Great. Elias said empowered and cared up for. Drang is saying a little bit powerful also.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thank you really for sharing, everyone. And if you're at home and or in your office and you don't want to share on the chat, just remember to jot it down so you can look at it later. And to remember, and all these words you're saying are exactly whatever you feel, it's perfect for you. And we can see that there's a slight differences between the words that we're using and between how this connected with each one of you. But for the most part, there's a more positive feeling and more feeling of value. Your opinion matters. You're counted in. A little bit of stress. Someone felt there like, oh my God, I have to move forward. I need to take action. And the idea is to understand how this affects us every day. And people feel value, like their opinion actually mattered. So take time to think through as we move forward. What kind of conversations are you using every day? Not only with others, with each other, but also with yourself, because the part of the conversational intelligence that we're going to see today more of, and one of the areas of signifying your greatness, which is a tool for leaders and coaches to move forward and to help actually people take action into more successful relationships and co-creating together a better world and a better organization and better relationships, has to do with the power of our conversations. And if anything today, I want you to take this away. Every word that we say, generates a neurological connection in our brain that will actually bring about a feeling and emotion. And from that point, the person that is next to you, the team that is with you, the organization that is serving into that culture of negativity, it's not going to work together very well or in a healthy way. But once you turn your words around and we shift our conversation, we start shifting the neurological connections, we build more resilience, and we can open up more towards feeling co-creative, creative, innovative, and trusting our team as we move forward. So I hope you like this exercise. We're going to continue moving forward with the presentation because I know time is ticking and I love to talk. And this is basically, in a nutshell, we're going to, after the break, we're going to talk more about neuroscience and the effect, how our brain is affected, so you understand them more inside. And you already had kind of an experience on how words really make you feel, and start looking into creating this consciousness, this next level of consciousness or awareness into what do you want to do different moving forward. But today, another tool that I'm bringing in from my beloved teacher and trainer, Judith Glaser, who sadly passed away a few years ago, and I'll share more on that story later. She left us this beautiful picture plus an entire group of conversations that I will share another time with you on understanding our brain and how we can get from me, I, resistant, looked up, the first group of words that we shared, how it made you feel, to we, as we listen to each other more and we start getting connected into co-creating the world and the organizations that we want. So our brain will be activated by every time we say something, we're going to activate a different part of our brain. And this is the Conversational Intelligence Dashboard, where we're going to be measuring and understanding as we move forward, where are we? So when you look at this, you can start thinking of the conversations that we had in the beginning. Where did they make you feel? If you look at the Conversational Intelligence Dashboard, did they make you feel more skeptic, low trust, the first group of conversations that we had? Or the second group of conversations, did they make you feel more co-creating, high trust, maybe conditional trust? We were activating different parts of the brain there. Actually awakening a new level of emotional consciousness by feeling it in our body. So we're moving from the top corner right of the model to the bottom corner right of the model into the, I don't know if these words you've heard them before, but we don't use them a lot. This corporeal consciousness is really becoming more aware of our body and more empowered also with what we feel, and awakens our intuition. Because a great leader, and in this process of reinventing your leadership, what I want you to take away from today too is to start believing in your gut instinct, and start believing in your intuition also, and kind of move forward with that. Don't shout it down. And I know in many different parts of the world, and based on our experiences and our religious beliefs and everything that we have achieved in life and becoming who we are today, sometimes we forget to really trust our intuition, and that's where our greatness is. That's the bottom in there, the middle of it is our greatness. So please don't forget to keep listening to that when that shows up. And today we're focusing on the left bottom corner, which is the conscious conversations and the power of the conversations we have in our brain, and the way we talk to ourselves too. Don't forget, it's just as important as the way we talk to others as leaders, and as we move forward to create new and more conscious actions in the world in order to achieve our goals and help others achieve theirs. Okay, so this is the Resignifying Your Greatness model. Now you get a glimpse of it, and we keep moving forward with the next slide on conversational intelligence, so that they can keep. Okay, so this is Joe Dispenza. I don't know if many of you know about him, but he's used to be this new age thought leader who really goes deep within in order to affect the outside world. And I love this phrase about him that came in today is, if you want a new outcome, you will have to break the habit of being yourself and reinvent a new self. And this is how we actually started the conversation: is who do you want to be? What is this new self, or this new leader, this new person that you want to become, with all the experiences that make you who you are, but how can you add something new to it to reinvent in the new world today of so many changes in order to become more resilient and actually a forward leader. Okay, so we can keep going. Rodrigo, porfa. Please. And we're going to deep dive a little bit into the neuroscience of Judith Glaser. We can go to the next one. And very quickly, I'm going to explain more of this dashboard. And this is a tool that you can take away with you. You can do a screenshot. This is a trademark material from my classes in conversational intelligence. And Judith Glaser actually passed away. She had cancer, and it was very sad because that year was very challenging also for me as a person and as a leader. I was the vice president of the International Coaching Federation. I don't know if many of you actually know what ICF is. If you do know what ICF is, please let me know in the chat, just thumb up or something. So I was asked to become the vice president of the ICF South Florida chapter. And as I was being the vice president, it's also called the president-elect. So I was supposed to be the president right after that. And in the middle of my vice presidency, my dad passed away. And it was, of course, one of the biggest challenges of my life thus far. And as a leader, I was faced with a huge shock, with like someone just took the floor out of me. And I was just like, what am I going to do now? Like, what do I want to do now? Like, I know who I am, but I'm supposed to become this president of this organization in South Florida, which is it's a pretty big chapter. And my dad just passed away. And I'm like, what do I do with this? Am I going to be able to be a good leader in the midst of being in grief, in such an important grief in my life? So I really had to make this choice and resignify my greatness or not at that particular moment in time. And this is why I bring this word consciousness into this model, because I had to make a conscious choice. And this is the invitation as we continue to move forward, not only today, but in your life, is thinking about how many conscious choices are you making in your life in which you're really thinking about how it affects you, and how can you affect others, and saying yes or no to an opportunity from the right place and the right mindset. So I had to make a conscious choice. Do I step down from the presidency because I'm in such a deep grief? Or do I make the conscious choice and really have the right conversations and trust my team? And am I ready to move forward and serve from this grief? So I was kind of like torn apart making this decision. So I became really conscious and aware, and I became the ICF South Florida, the International Coaching Federation chapter of South Florida president, making a conscious choice and recognizing that even though I was in such a deep grief, there were moments in my life in which, as we look into this conversational intelligence dashboard, there were many times that I felt with low trust and resistant, and I wanted to just kind of like cuddle in myself and like felt like I wasn't ready to do this. But a lot of the times I opened up new conversations and new possibilities, and I brought myself and my team more into this conditional trust, wait and see, how is Angela going to be able to handle this, and experiment with new things. And actually we were able to co-create an amazing year, even though I was going into this deep grief. So I wanted to share this because this is really the next level of signifying your greatness. You could be going through something really challenging like we have over the past year, and still look for your greatness and your light inside, and actually connect to that and bring it into the world. Whether it's, again, you are all leaders of your own world, your own leaders of your own life. If you're a big sister or a big brother, if you are a parent, if you actually have a team below you, or do you own a business, or you actually are the president of the world, or the world, I mean, the United States, or the president of the country you're in, or actually the leader of your organization. I just really want you to start feeling the responsibility, but also the conscious action of taking your life back into your driver's seat, you know? So here we go, deep grief. I make a conscious decision. I become the president. It was not easy every time. I went through really, really big challenges. Me and my team went back and forward into the dashboard. There were moments that were very red and there were moments that were very green. And at the end of the year, we were recognized by the global organization for the leadership and all the changes that we were able to affect in our community in South Florida, the coaching programs that we brought into leaders and into nonprofit organization boards, and the impact that had actually in our community and in each person that was in the chapter that year. So I want you to kind of like take this away with you and think, where are you usually? You know, you can share in the chat, and where we're going to continue moving forward, where I want you to think about, where are you? Because there's a different part of the brain that gets activated. And very briefly, you can see the primitive brain here on the left, where there's the red close to the resistor word. On the side of the eye, me, myself, which is protective. You go inside and protect yourself. The primitive brain is basically where we have our amygdala, which activates us in when we feel that we are being attacked, which is, as you remember, the first conversations that we had. So there's a word or there's a situation that I feel is a threat. And when I feel threatened or I feel a threat, it could be a word, it could be something real that's happening, it could be something made up in your mind, you're going to activate that amygdala. That amygdala is going to send signals like we saw in the picture in the very beginning to our brain, and is going to activate a bunch of neurological reactions that are going to create reactions physically in our world. And what Judith Glaser taught us was these reactions are, you're going to either fight, flight, freeze, or appease. Fight, flight are the most common ones that we know, freeze or appease. And Elias was mentioning something really interesting before when we think about our bosses that we didn't like, our parents, when we were being parents and when we're parenting and telling kids what to do and not to do, we activate these parts of the brain of the other person. So this is good to understand as we reinvent our leadership styles and understand how we're showing up, because we're going to create these 4 actions when the amygdala is activated. And sometimes we tend to stay in relationships or we tend to stay in jobs, but our amygdala is activated and we're appeasing because we don't want to talk back. We don't want to raise our hands. We don't want to say this is not fair, this is not right. We're afraid. So we appease to what's going on. We're just going to stay there and do nothing. Sometimes we just freeze, so we can't really do anything. Sometimes we just run, or you're just ready to fight it out. So where are you usually in conversations in your everyday? Where do you feel you lead more and you lead more in? Resistant mode, co-creational mode, wait and see mode? If you want, just share some of this in the chat. Take a snap picture of this just to keep it moving forward in the conversation today. But I believe we're going to be able to send this to you later. Rodrigo, Elias, let me know. I can send it to them, or you guys can send it to them. This material you can access. Just remember, this is a copyrighted material from Judith Glaser. Let's go to the next slide. And as we move forward, I just want to share that I know it sounds sad sometimes when I share, but Judith Glaser passed away the same year my dad passed away. So my dad passed away. I'm the vice president of ICF South Florida, making this decision of whether I'm going to become the president or not. Then I started Conversational Intelligence in 2018, studying with Judith Glaser, and November 18th, she passed away. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just the year of grief and craziness. And so how do you take it to the next level? And she left us all of these beautiful tools to move forward in our life and reinvent who we are. And what the bottom line of what she's trying to teach us is, how do we learn to create change in our lives? whether it's our personal or our professional life. And it's really in the power of our conversations. And as we are moving forward today, we can see that there's a space that we can actually raise up the volume of, and there's a space that we need to lower the volume of. And basically, you can see in this picture that there's upregulation of those conversations that are more nourishing, the conversations that create inclusion, the conversations that helps us feel appreciated, that recognize each other as part of this ecosystem in the world, part of this ecosystem in your families, part of this ecosystem in your team. How do we actually expand from the conversation without judgment? This is where coaching comes in. Coaching is a way of being with you, serving you, supporting you through a coaching process in each session without judgment. So you can feel safe to bring in whatever it is that you're going through, whatever it is you're feeling that is crazy or that you want to create, that you feel that you might not achieve it. You can bring it to a coaching conversation, and we're going to serve you as coaches with not judgment. And we're just going to ask you powerful questions that we have today to move you forward and to help you get to where you want to go. So this is what we invite you to bring more into your life and your leadership. It's to upregulate, to turn up the volume of those nourishing conversations that reinforce more of transparency, relationship building, co-creation, and trust. And don't forget to celebrate every step of the way. It doesn't matter the smallest achievements that you have, because one step moving forward every day, just one step, it's going to be 30 or 31 steps, or 28 or 29, depending on the month. At the end of the month, it's better to take one step than no steps. And then what do you need to down-regulate? This depleting energy conversations, this depleting energy situations that are exclusive, that actually judge other people, that we withhold information, that are limiting, that make you show up like you know it all, and it's just your way or the highway. Criticism, as we down-regulate this and we up-regulate the nourishing conversations, we're going to see changes. And the more we do this, we're going to see lasting changes in whatever it is that we are leading and we are affecting, whether it's an organization, the world, and ourselves. Do not forget about yourself. Remember that the center of Resignifying Your Greatness model is about you, your intuition, who you are in your core, and how do we become more conscious and aware. And now what's the impact that we want to take into the world with it? So can we move forward, Rodrigo, please? Do we have any questions up until right now, please? I just kind of want to...
Let's see if anyone has any question yet, anything they want to share, or we can keep going with the presentation. If everything is clear.
If you have questions, please pop them up in the chat, and Rodrigo will be letting me know. And
Absolutely.
basically, the last quadrant of the Resignifying Your Greatness model is how do we get to conscious actions? And like I said before, this is like an entire program, and I'm actually writing a book about it too. But it comes down to how do we collaborate with each other in the world? Because whether we like it or not, we're in constant contact with each other, with another human being. And a lot of the times we need collaboration in order to build something, to build a family, to build more relationships, to build your entrepreneurship, to build your business, and to actually, at the end of the day, build commitments in order to take action and continue building the world, no? So in the center of collaborating with each other, wherever we are, and I just kind of want to say something that just came to me right now. The COVID it's really bad, and it's a horrible disease, and I know it's affecting us really deeply, and grief and a lot of real threats are coming in. So our brains this past year and a half have been feeling very, very activated into this resistant mode that we were showing before. So I don't think this is minor. I just want you to think about this, because I asked this question before for you to look at consciously, where are you in the dashboard and how do you feel you're coming across every day in the dashboard. But remember that there is a real threat in the world that has actually sent everybody, doesn't matter who you are, how enlightened you are, all of us unconsciously and consciously have felt this threat and has pushed us into this side of the conversational intelligence dashboard at some point in the last year and a half, or at every point in the last year and a half. It'll depend, and it's okay too. Just understanding where we are and makes us get the right help to move forward. So going back to this slide, in the middle of the collaboration, there's trust. And it may feel like it's a little bit harder to build trust because we're constantly feeling threatened with the virus wherever we are. So kind of like be patient with yourselves, but be aware of it so that you can remove that conversation a little bit more in the side and think about how can you get back to trust and collaborating and co-creating. And that's at the center of the conscious actions. You know, in order to create a teamwork that's supportive, it'll depend on the way we're communicating. And you see how communication is closer to trust. You know, how are we communicating to each other, and how are we motivating with those conversations, and how are we inspired in order to build success together as a group, as a team, as a humanity as well. So remember that trust is always in the middle, and how do we build trust and move forward towards it, and seeing the dashboard and understanding of what happens in our brain, so we can create more conversations or take care of our surroundings in order to feel more trusting of us, and therefore more trusting of others. What are the conscious actions that you can actually take? This is the next level of this conversation today. What are the conscious actions that you can take after learning all we have learned today in order to reinvent your leadership? Because remember, you too are a leader, no matter where you are, no matter what you do. So we keep going forward if there are no more questions, because I want to hear from you, and we're going to get there very soon. Rodrigo, we can go to the next slide, please. And basically, this is just a little bit more of the same with more words to it, is that trust changes our reality. The more we understand this, the more we're going to work in building our trust from the inside out. Now, today, we have shared a deeper understanding of what happens in our brain almost automatically when we feel threatened. But also we have felt what it feels when we feel trusted, and when we feel words that are kinder to us, that moves us more into experimenting, not feeling afraid. And how do we co-create? By listening to each other. This is the key word, and this is a key word in coaching. We become active listeners. And this is a part of the invitation to you today. Listen to your body, but listen to each other. What are we not listening in ourselves that is creating more fear and it's not helping us move forward? And also, what are we creating what are we not listening from ourselves that it may be affecting each other, the other, our team, our relationships, and how do we move back and forward in those conversations? When we go to the right side of changing our reality, we build more trust. And you see there's reality, the acronym there is how do you reveal more? How do you expect the unexpected? How do you open to an aspirational space where innovation can take place because there's no criticism? So you can start a conversation with your partners, with your children, with your team, in which we start the conversation by saying, today, it's a safe space. This is our commitment. This is going to be a safe space, a safe meeting for the next hour. And in the safe space that we kind of created for you today to be able to share, whatever we're going to share, we're going to respect, and we're not going to criticize. We're not going to judge. We're not going to judge. We're actually going to build on from it. So we start stacking up information from everybody in the team, from everybody in the household, in order to build trust and to actually listen to each other. And then what builds this trust, it's what we shared today also, is when we feel that people are not being authentic and honest with us, when we do not expect mistakes, when mistakes are made and we feel like someone is going to yell at us or scream at us or tell us we're not good enough, when there's secrets. And when we say yes to everything, like I said before, the conscious decision that we have to make, sometimes we have people who are afraid to raise their voice and they say yes to more work or yes to a project that they may not be ready to do. And then there's the space of you saying yes to everything, and then you cannot really perform to that level. It creates more resistance for yourself and for everybody else. So I want to know if there are questions this far.
There is a question that I think it's really, really interesting. And it is, how can I develop the conversation? I'm guessing the conversation skill, because I am silent and a short saying person.
Okay, can you share the question again, please?
Yes, I'm going to say it again. How can I develop the conversation skill? Because I am silent and a short saying person.
Okay, all right, thank you. And this comes from Hugh, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to answer these questions to the best of my ability, but this is not just for Hugh, it's for everyone here. And I'm sure everyone's going to take something out of it. Okay, and this goes back to the slide that we have in. Hugh is actually giving us a judgment about himself or herself and saying, okay, I feel that I'm a short saying person, okay? Maybe because you're comparing to people around you or in your work or in your life. Sometimes listening is more interesting than just saying, and I'm just saying that because it's interesting to listen to it and to keep it in mind, but also understand that there's a lot happening in our brain when we want to say something. So my first question to you would be, is there any fear that shows up when you're trying to talk? This would be understanding us and how we show up. Like, do I have any fear of raising my voice? And where is that fear coming from? Was I in a place where I was not heard before? Does it come from a place of judgment? Like I feel my opinion is not going to be valid? Because that will keep you in a place of resistance to open up to conversations. And what happens here, everyone, is that our body, remember we're signifying your greatness, our body emotionally, with this way that we show up in the world, tends to stop us and not align to accompany us to move forward with this difficult conversations sometimes. So my question to you is, are you talking about having difficult conversations or just having conversations in general?
Let's see if she can share it with us.
I see Lahan Megwal, I'm probably not pronouncing this right, that I think he can't hear us or something. I'm just seeing something here. But Hugh, I don't know if he or she wants to answer the question here into the how do we create conversations. But I'm gonna give you the executive answer of it, okay? The prefrontal cortex executive answer. How do we build trust? How do we create this conversation? The first step is to have an invitation to a conversation. So there are a couple of different types of conversations, okay? One is what we could define a difficult conversation, which is a difficult conversation for you, who's the one person who wants to take care of it. So if it's a difficult conversation for you, just think about what are your resistance? What is your resistance there? And then go from the inside out. But executively speaking, if you're in an organization, if you're working with a team, basically set the time for it, okay? Set the time for the conversation. Yes, Rodrigo?
Actually, she replied and she said, yes, I want to make conversations in general and in private.
Okay, I know. That's what I was feeling, getting the feeling of. And Hugh, a lot of processes, whether it's coaching or therapy, I'm not going to say therapy, but with coaching, we can help you and accompany you actually to embody, because what happens sometimes is that we feel like we don't do it, we feel like we cannot do it, then we stop doing it. So our body doesn't experience the whole, how do I get out there into the world? So my suggestion for you today would be challenge yourself to be a conversational starter somewhere, in the bus, at work, at the grocery store, while you're waiting in line. Just test your body. We go to this experimenter area, of the dashboard we have here. Experiment and see what happens with your experiments, okay? So you can start building this building away from the resistance and creating new neurological connections on speaking to new people, and see how you can start building up this resilience to get bigger and longer conversations. And I want to hear from you. How does this feel? What I'm asking you to do. How does this feel on a scale of 1 to 10? How challenging does this feel for you to start doing? Because we forget that our bodies and the cells are part of whether we want to move forward or not. And we need to align them. And this is part of the work that I do that differentiates me from the rest of the coaches in the world, is that I work with your body as well. I include your body into the system, because your body needs to move in with you. We can tell you a lot of positive affirmations and read a lot of positive things and very inspiring things, but if your body's not moving forward with you and incorporating this new knowledge, it becomes a resistance at the end of the day. So is Hugh giving us any answers about the challenge that I gave her in order to be able to create new conversations?
Thanks. See, I think it was.
I know.
It worked for her.
You can contact me after the session, and we could have a coaching conversation. We need to move forward, so you can actually answer a questionnaire that I have in there for you.
Yes.
And for UTEL, because we have an alliance with UTEL, I'm going to offer anyone here. Sorry, guys, this is something new that I'm going to throw out there. You can yell at me afterwards. But anyone here can book a coach consulting session with me after this event, and we will figure out a way for them to get the link to do this. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, Vanessa can share your social media again so they can get in touch with you.
Great. So Hugh, we can talk about this more if you want to, but to answer Hugh's question is challenge yourself. If it's in her situation, how do I even start a conversation? Is just challenge yourself to say hi, just talk about the weather, talk about something you feel comfortable with, so that you're not afraid of. So it's like a basic conversation, and just take it up from there. And when it comes to the business and into your family as well, and this would be like the executive answer to this question is set up a time for it. Let's set up a time to talk about what happened yesterday, if it was a challenging moment. Let's set up a time to talk about how can we become more co-creative as a team. Let's set up a time to have a coaching conversation. Let's set up a time to have a team building conversation. Does that make sense? Like, am I answering the question, everybody? Yes?
I think you are,
Okay. Let's move forward, Rodrigo. Please, someone tell me, how am I doing with time? How much time do I have left so I know how to move forward?
Yes, we have around 10 minutes left.
Okay. So when the conversation activates our primitive brain, which is the brain that I showed you before in the resistor area, where the amygdala can be hijacked by a real threat or created threat in our mind or in our conversations, basically we lose our executive functions. And when we lose our executive functions, which is the trust, the experimenting, and the building the we community, then we go back to fear. So remember this, okay? Remember that when you're activated by fear, your executive functions are gone. And basically we're working on our animal brain, which is just going to be activated to protect and not really think. And it's going to make you fight, flight, freeze, or appease, instead of sit back and say, okay, let me just see what could happen. which is a more trusting space. And let me listen to what other people have to say and not take it personally. So this is question here, but I rather move forward. This question you can answer for yourself. If you remember, when was the last time that you lost your executive functions and you kind of like felt like you put your foot in your mouth and it's like, oh, or felt like, oh my God, I wish I could have done this or that, but I was just frozen from the situation. Just to kind of continue building this consciousness and awareness of how are you showing up in your life? What triggers you? What is triggering that inside part of your animal brain that keeps you in fear? And what do you need to do? What conversations need to happen? Or what do you need to take care in your surroundings to actually move more towards your executive brain functions, the prefrontal cortex, and actually creating a more experimental, no worries, co-creational space to construct, to build, and to collaborate moving forward. Next slide, Rodrigo, because I think we have some activities for them to go in and decant some of this information actually.
Right.
Let's do the next slide.
Let's go to the next slide. There you go.
Well, yeah, basically this is beautiful Judith Glaser watching over us and super happy to see me moving forward and sharing with the world all of her research and her wonderful tools. And basically what she says is to get to the next level of greatness, it depends on the quality of the culture, which depends on the quality of the relationships, which depends on the quality of the conversations. So at the end, everything happens through conversations. And we are going to take this conversation now into a writing conversation with the next slide, Rodrigo. So what will you commit to do different moving forward? And I want you to actually do this physically and decant it on the link that will be shared in the chat box.
Yes.
So you can go to that form.
Let's see.
I invite everyone to participate because also there at the end, you can tell me if you want a coaching session and we can get in touch with you and so forth. And I know UTEL will be sending you, are we sending them the presentation?
Yes.
Like what's, okay, cool.
Yes, we are actually, this is being recorded. This is going to be edited in a few days. It's going to be uploaded to our YouTube channel.
Great. All right, so basically, after everything that we have learned today, or you have experienced today, remember this was about incorporating your emotional world with your embodiment, with your conversations, and now we take action. And this is how coaching sessions go. Make an agreement in the beginning, what are we going to talk about? We navigate through the emotional world inside out. I ask powerful questions to you. And then at the end, I wrap it up by asking you, what's your commitment? What are you taking away from today's session? What's the commitment moving forward? So I become also kind of like your accountability partner at the end of the session, just like today. So what will you commit to the different moving forward? And is the link in the chat already?
Yes, it's already there.
Great. There's a form. We're going to give you a couple of minutes to fill that out.
Yes, remember you can fill it out. I'm gonna read this comment they left. Excuse me, Angela. Joel said, in order to start conversation, you need to know the topic and subject matter that the team is discussing. Need to research in advance to be able to provide some good ideas. It's a good pointer right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Especially if you are starting a conversation in which you want to be the expert on, for sure, you need to do your research and show up, in a way that you're going to build trust with the people who are going to be there listening to you, whether it's your team, if you're a speaker, but maybe people here want to be a speaker in front of like hundreds or thousands of people. So you need to know what you're talking about in case someone throws you a question. But also, I want to invite you to remember that it's impossible to know everything. And it is okay also to say, I will get back to you on that because I don't have the answer today, because that will build up more trust for the people listening to you and for yourself, because it generates a lot of anxiety, and anxiety will trigger your animal brain, I will call it, but it's a reptile brain, in fear of, oh my God, I don't know enough. I'm not doing enough. I don't have enough information. I don't have enough research. Just try to build up, like I say, your body to accompany you, to feel confident that whatever you did and whatever you're doing to be in that conversation, it's what you need. There's that greatness inside of you. You know, in the middle of the recently find your greatness model, there's a greatness inside of you that is information that it doesn't come from learning knowledge. It comes from inner knowledge. So this is not invalidating by any means what was said on the chat, but I want to invite you also to remember, because we are living in very difficult times in the sense that we are already activated every day with fear. And today I really want you, and this is my, what's the word that I want to say? My activation pearl into the world is, how do we reduce this fear everywhere so that we can really become the kind, nice human beings that we are with each other? Because from fear, we are going to react instead of responding. Okay, so trust, build yourself up, get the information, but then find a time to stop and be able to trust whatever's going to happen. And if you don't have the answer, feel free to say, I don't have the answer right now, because that'll build more trust than you trying to figure it out and pretend like you know everything, because we cannot know everything. Okay. All right. So how are we doing with filling out the chat box, filling out the link on the chat box with what will you commit to do different moving forward? And if you're already done filling out that, you can share here in the chat just one thing that you want to commit doing different moving forward after today's conversation. And you can actually, Rodrigo, if you want, just run the next couple of slides, I think.
Sure.
This is the same. Basically, if you want to learn more about coaching or conversational intelligence or simplifying your greatness, just let me know in the chat box, in the link, because there's a question there for that. There were a couple of questions in there just for me to also give more value after the session is over to everyone here today. And you can just do the last one.
There is someone, yes, Dr. Jugal says, Don, looking forward to connect with Angela one-on-one. There we go.
Great. Make sure you filled out that form so I can connect with you.
Yes, and follow her and all her social media also.
You can, Rodrigo, you can go to the next one. I think
all right,
the
last one,
a lot of the information is there. There we go. There's the information also for you, for everyone to have there. There's my email. But basically, by responding in that Google form, I can get to know more of what you want. And that way, when we talk, we can actually talk more in detail of what you want to learn more about and not just random stuff.